Hello, I'm Gregory Shaw. I'm a professor of American Indian Studies, and it's my honor to be your host for our new series, A Romance with American Indian Art. Join us as we take a journey throughout the Western Hemisphere to explore and experience the remarkable artistic creations of the original people of this land. We begin in a traditional way, burning sage to purify our minds and our hearts and our spirits, to focus us on the journey that we're about to take. We begin with respect for the native peoples, for their remarkable artistic creations, creations which span time and space from the ancient past to the present day, with visions for the future of the coming generations. Throughout history, California Indians have been resilient. They are survivors. They have survived constant onslaughts to try to push them off their land, to take control of their waterways, and to dominate their natural resources. Through this entire period, California Indian people have continued to survive with a spirit of joy and happiness and a sense of humor, and in the face of it all, have continued to create beautiful artwork. For artwork to Native people is something different than we generally perceive it. Everything in life is like a work of art. It's like poetry. In Northwest California, there are 3 tribes that are linguistically different, but culturally closely related. The Yurok, the Hoopa, and the Karuk. These native people share a tradition of fine basket weaving. This Yurok basket symbolizes friendship. It is the most difficult of all designs because it must match perfectly, seamlessly, all the way around. This Hoopa basket illustrates the friendship design as well as wax poo balanced in the middle. Balance and harmony with nature are the essence of these cultures. In the autumn, when the geese flew in V formations, Yurok women were inspired to create this design, which is also seen reflected in the water. Here we see the geese flying in a V formation over the mountains. This basket is woven so finely, it looks like linen. Here a Karuk woman put all the best together. She used the geese in flight design. She used lattice work rim finish along with ticking, black and white interspersed, a combination of color, design, and form to create an ultimate design motif. Just as Datsalali is considered the master of California coiled basketry, Elizabeth Hickox from Northern California is considered the master of twining. Around the turn of the century, Elizabeth Hickox, who is usually identified as a Karuk basket maker, but actually is half Wiyot and half German, created among the finest, tightest weaves in what is called half-wrap twining. The spiral form is characteristic of whirlwind patterns that we see throughout California. The sophistication of this design, the complexity of the weaving technique, combined with the tightness of her individual stitches, makes this particular work considered to be one of the great masterpieces of California Indian basketry. The second basket by Elizabeth Hickox is made from the same materials. The black is maidenhair's fern. The light tan material is bear grass. These 2 materials are overlaid over the inner base, which is split pine root. Inside of this basket are tiny little shoots from the hazel plant, which provides the structure and the strength of the basket. The design on this beautiful Elizabeth Hickox basket is friendship in that it interconnects all the way around seamlessly. We also see vertical stripes. These symbolize the tattoo marks which women used to make on their chins. This basket is in mint condition. It is beautiful, aesthetically very pleasing. Although smaller than the preceding basket, it also ranks among the masterpieces of California Indian art. Twining was practiced throughout California, but exclusively in Northern California. The inner rods of a twined basket are often willow or hazel and are called the warp. Long, thin weft strands are twisted and wrapped around the vertical warps. Two weft strands, one being colorful, are used in the overlay technique to create decorative designs. In Northwest California, this colorful overlay strand appears only on the outside surface and is called half-wrap twining. However, in Northeast California, the design also appears on the inner surface of the basket because the overlay strand is wrapped all the way around the vertical warp, thus the name full wrap twining. After 30 years of weaving baskets, a woman could earn the right to create new motifs. This design, created around the turn of the century, looks strikingly similar to a work of modern art by Paul Klee or Alexander Calder. These three women's caps illustrate the karuk, the yurok, and the hupa. Each of these caps have three zones. The rim, this is sharp tooth. The middle band is friendship. The top symbolizes a whirlwind like a starburst. Although there are hundreds of California Indian languages, there is not a word for art. Art is integrated within everything. It is not something which is separate simply for aesthetic appeal, but rather the fabric of daily life. Acorn soup, the hupa staff of life, was cooked in watertight baskets with red-hot stones. Then it was poured into a bowl like this one, which they would eat from using hand-carved wooden or elk horn spoons. These are yurok clam gathering baskets. The open-work twining allows seawater to flow out naturally. The elk horn purse was used to hold dentalium shell, which was used as money. The people literally wore their wealth. The famous psychologist Joseph Wheelwright collected this yurok tobacco basket in the 1930s. It is in mint condition. This is where the medicine people held their sacred tobacco. In the background, we see split pine root. The white material is bear grass. The black is maidenhair fern, and the rust color is woodwardia fern dyed with alder bark. We see that there's a lid that's suspended on the top by bands of rawhide or deerskin. 100 years ago, hupa women created acorn sifter baskets to sift acorn flour. Their descendants created beautiful works of art in a similar form. California Indian art is alive and well today. These pieces were created during our own generation. Here we see a wall plaque which exposes the hazel inner warps. Here we see a necklace created by Vivian Hailstone. It shows dentalium shells, pine nuts, a traditional form of plaque in miniature, as well as two miniature tobacco baskets. Moving into the northeast region of California, the environment changes as the valleys rise to mountainous terrain. The tribes in northeast California include the Modoc, Klamath, Shasta, Hat Creek or Achamawe, and Pit River or Atsugewe, which literally means the river people. The Modocs and Klamath lived in a beautiful estuary For over 10,000 years, they created baskets similar to these. Each tribe in Northeast California has a unique basketry style. This basket came from near Mount Shasta and has volcanic obsidian flake design. This one is from Modoc and is made out of flexible tule reeds. This lovely girl's cap is from Pitt River and has a quail topknot motif. This rare Modoc basket is the closest thing to a true textile in California Indian basketry. It was made by these individual strands of tule being rolled on a woman's thigh. Then it was cross-hatched, sort of like a hop sack motif, to create this overall textile effect. I only know of 3 of them in existence, one in the Peabody Museum at Harvard University. The Modocs made beautiful gambling trays. The object of the game is to guess which hand has the gambling piece, right or left. This basket is a California Indian backpack. It was made by the Pitt River tribe just south of the Modoc. Both of these baskets have the deer rib design. This complex design also has the quail in the bush with their little top-knot feathers coming out, the eye of the creator, morning star, and like their northern neighbors, the Modoc, it's full wrap twining, so we can see the design on the inside. From Northeast California, we see an acorn hopper basket. The bottom of this basket is open, there's a hole. Long ago, it may have originally been a burden basket, which simply wore through the bottom and then was clipped and converted into what's called a hopper. They would pound the acorns in the stone mortar at the bottom, and the acorn flour would pile up inside of this basket, and then they could make acorn soup from it. The design is geese in flight, which radiates around in 4 different points, balanced symmetrically. It's a very old basket, probably dates from the time of the gold rush, 1840s, 1850s. The first and most important thing that unites California Native people, as well as Native people throughout this land, is that they are spiritual people who both understand and respect their environment. They have a wealth of knowledge about how to live in harmony with nature. Pitt River and Hat Creek people lived in a mountainous area. Their medicine people went on vision quests to the mountaintops, where they saw the morning stars rise and the spirals of the cosmos. This basket symbolizes pine cones, while this basket symbolizes morning star rising over a covey of quail. Lightning flashes from the heavens. Only 1 in 1,000 baskets is considered a negative when the design is in white with a dark background. This highly decorative Pitt River basket has a fly design in the negative and a butterfly design in the positive, surmounted by a redbud rim. This northern Wintu basket is one of the rarest of all California baskets. Here we see the quails in the bush design. Its distinctive characteristic are the bands of 3-wrap twining in a unique pattern on the bottom. The reason northern Wintu baskets are so rare is, in the early 1830s, a malaria epidemic took the lives of 75% of the Wintu in the upper and central Sacramento Valley. That left these native people poorly prepared to deal with the influx of first the settlers and then the gold miners. Shortly after Shasta County was created in the 1850s, local settlers gave a friendship feast, poisoned the food, and killed 140 of the Wintu people. The assault against these native peoples continued. Consequently, few baskets of this size and quality exist today. This basket may have been woven for a Wintu woman dream doctor. The Valero star, symbolizing a society of spiritual prophets, also is found from Navajo blankets to Lakota pipe bags. The columns of parallelograms depict volcanic glass blades, mahogany and black in color, used by Wintu visionaries to penetrate the spirit world. This basket creates a beautiful balance between the physical and metaphysical worlds. Moving into Central California, we find the Great Pomo Nation. Their territory extended from the Pacific coast to Clear Lake, the heart being the Russian River Basin. These people are known for their superb basket weaving, combining a variety of techniques with excellent craftsmanship. Mysteriously, a transition line runs through Pomo territory. Twineware was created from the Pomo territory to the north, while coiling stretches from Pomo territory all the way to the tip of Southern California. In the coiling process, the weaver begins with the inner rods, or bundles, called the foundation. A thin strand, called the weft, both encircles the foundation, creating a coil, and laces the coils together. Tribal custom determines whether the coil spirals to the left or the right, as well as a number of inner rods, the start, and rim finish. The Pomos demonstrate incredible diversity in basketry technique. In coiling, their stitch counts will reach as high as 60 stitches per inch. In twining, they demonstrate almost every known technique. This wedding basket is among the most prized. It is a type of gift a Pomo woman would give to her daughter upon her wedding day. We see down the center, each band has a dowel line, which is an artistic, almost abstract design. This is the place where Pomo women allow their spirit to come back out. For thousands of years, California Indian women pounded acorns to create flour, used in making acorn soup, acorn bread, and a variety of other dishes. Once the flour was pounded, it would then be sifted through a close woven basket like we see on the left. Throughout California, the gathering, storage, milling, and cooking of acorns were all performed in approximately the same way. For thousands of years, the Pomo have created feathered jewel baskets. These gems were woven by Rose Anderson, a Pomo grandmother living in Chico, California. Feathered baskets are created by weaving a feather into every other stitch. The weaver may add beads made of clamshells, abalone pendants, quail topknot feathers, as well as hematite or Pomo gold to create what is considered among the most artistic and beautiful baskets on the face of the earth. Pomo baskets are among the largest and smallest in California. As a display of virtuoso skill, Pomo women wove super miniature baskets. Slightly larger than a baby pea, this 60-stitch Pomo Mini is in contention for honors as the world's smallest basket. Almost 2 feet in length, this Pomo boat basket was named after the shape of tule watercraft used to navigate Clear Lake. Here a Pomo grandmother gathers tules around Clear Lake. She would use these tules to weave basketry homes, dome-shaped like a beehive. The Patwin, Yuki, and Kato are neighbors to the Pomo, as we can see in their similar basketry techniques. Here we see two of the rarest of all California Indian baskets. On the left, we have a Kato basket from north of the Pomos. On the right, a Huchnum Yuki, which can be identified by its distinctive start, a Turkish knot. The Patwin, near Sacramento, were almost wiped out. Thus their baskets are rare. This large bowl with a whirlwind design was used to sift acorn flour. This small Patwin single-rod basket was woven in sedge with a redbud flower design. The Maidu lived south of Ishi's homeland. From the time of the gold rush to the turn of the century, they created these three-rod coiled baskets. Maidu baskets are among my personal favorites because of their bold redbud and briarroot designs. In 1840, a 5-year-old girl acquired this basket while visiting a Maidu village. It's been passed down in their family for 5 generations. These 2 Maidu baskets from Central California depict 2 opposite philosophical principles. On the top, we have a basket that symbolizes war designs. One ethnographic account indicates that design like this was used to symbolize the war medicine that was made during the time of the gold rush when the Maidus were defending their homeland. On the bottom, we see a reflection of more peaceful intentions from the 20th century after the reservation was established. This particular design depicts the trail of an earthworm moving across the sand. Washoe territory spans Lake Tahoe and extends down the foothills into the Nevada desert, near the homeland of the Paiute prophet Wovoka, who started the ghost dance movement. This basket was created by the famous Washoe weaver, Datsalale. She described her native materials in the Washoe language: tabuk, willow, tagule, redbud, and mesowagathe, bracken fern root. Otis Mason, author of the classic book in American Indian Basketry, described her baskets. They acquire with age a richness that makes them incomparable. The sewing is faultless. Stitch after stitch, over and over, increases in width and length with the swelling and shrinking of the basket, like a harmony in music. Note how the diamond shapes around the center of the basket are broader in width, while the diamonds on the top and bottom are more slender in form. This is what gives the basket its great monumental quality. This spherical form is described in the Washoe language by the term dagikup. The Washoe dagikup was developed by Datsalale, while variations were made by Cease, Sarah Mayo, Maggie James, and other weavers. This basket symbolizes the wonder hunters who used the medicine man's magic arrow points to hunt the game of the air by starlight. This Washoe 3-rod boat basket and a Maidu bush pattern illustrating intertribal design distribution. Thousands of years ago, Uto-Aztecan people came out of the desert into California. Paiute twine basketry water bottles were covered in pine pitch to seal them watertight. The braided horsehair handles indicate this basketry bottle was woven after European contact. Here we see Paiute and Mono basketry and beadwork, a continuation of a timeless tradition. Mono Lake beaded handbags by Edna Foster won prizes at Yosemite Indian Days in the 1920s. The Monos south of Yosemite are famous as leaders of the resistance movement. They defended the sovereignty of their territory against Spanish conquistadors, Mexican rancho owners, the miners during the California Gold Rush, and the California cowboys who pushed them higher and higher into the Sierra Mountains. This huge mono basket was woven with symbols of resistance, quivers, and arrows. The diagonal lines at the bottom indicate they are magical arrows. Tribal legends describe magic arrows flying over mountains, around trees, and always hitting their mark. The mono were famous for bottlenecks and large cooking baskets. They coil in the opposite direction of a yoke-cut, but are similar in other respects. The Paiutes clustered in two groups, from the northern Paviazzo to the southern Mono Lake Paiute. According to oral history, Paiute and Washoe families around the turn of the century traveled from the high Sierras down to Pomo territory. There, Pomo weavers inspired a tradition of weaving beads onto baskets. Washoe and Paiute women developed this technique into their own style of creation. These baskets, woven out of willow, are covered completely in beads. To create these magnificent designs, each bead must be sewn on individually, a process that requires months to create a single basket. As hundreds of thousands of tourists poured into Yosemite, one of the first national parks in the country, Paiute weavers wove beautiful beaded baskets to appeal to those customers. The design on this basket depicts Plains Indians with headdresses. They're also holding staffs, bows and arrows, as well as other items which are indicative of the Plains Indians, those which the general public most identify with the American Indian. Most Paiute beaded baskets are constructed by single rod coiling. This basket is unique in that it has not only willow, which is your light tan material, but also redbud, creating a design with arrow points rotating around the bottom. Very few California baskets have exact documentation as to their age. The way we estimate the age has to do with the degree of amber color in our lighter materials. This basket is older, probably dating 1850, 1860, perhaps 1870. It has sort of an amber color in the willow. In contrast, this basket probably is from the turn of the century. The willow is lighter. Chemically, what's happening is that tannic acid, a natural material inside of the weaving material, is gradually yellowing over age, the same effect that appears in our newspapers as they get older. The Yokutt territory spanned the San Joaquin Valley and foothills. The San Andreas Fault runs through the heart of Yokutt territory and was called the Giant Snake. The diamondback rattlesnake was one of their favorite designs. The polychrome examples are woven of sedgeroot, redbud, and bracken fern. Yokutt baskets have soared in value, especially two types. Gambling trays were used exclusively by women who wove fantastic personal designs to attract good luck, and bottleneck baskets were used to collect live rattlers for the snake dance. Yokutt symbolism includes diamondback patterns and friendship dances. This masterpiece is richly decorated with red woodpecker and quail topknot feathers, perhaps for a wedding or other happy ceremonies. Southern neighbors of the Yokutt include the Kawayasu, Tabatalabal, Panamint, and Chemehuevi. This bottleneck and cooking basket could easily be misidentified as Yokutt. However, the use of Joshua tree root in the place of redbud are characteristic of a small southern tribe called Kawayasu. Tabatalabals are distinguished from Yokutts and Kawayasu by three-rod construction. Both redbud and Joshua tree root were used in this bowl which depicts the flight of the butterfly design. Along the Colorado River on the Arizona border, the Shema wavy coiled 3-rod baskets of willow and devil's claw. Similar to Apache and Havasupai from the bottom of the Grand Canyon, Shemis are distinguished by austere designs and stark sun-bleached willow, as well as impeccable uniformity of stitches. The smallest coils and the tightest weaves were made by the Panamint from Death Valley. This 19th century example symbolizes quivers full of arrows with their feathers sticking up out of the top. Note the ticking around the edge and the elegant form which comes to a point. The demand for Panamint baskets grew so great by the 1920s and 30s that Panamint weavers made the coils much larger and the number of stitches much smaller per inch so that they might complete baskets more quickly. This design also has butterflies, which was very popular among collectors. Every other butterfly is colored in the center with an amber tone, which comes from yuccas grass. To the west were the Great Chumash Nation, 1 million acres within their territory, which spanned from the interior mountains to the Pacific Ocean, and from San Luis Obispo in the north down to present-day Los Angeles in the south. 6 Chumash baskets are reunited in this scene, bathed in the warm light of a setting California sun. The first basket on the left displays a classic Chumash design layout, a whirlwind of top knots, surrounded by spiraling forms, encased in a double black band. While related to other missions, Chumash baskets are almost always constructed with 3-rod yuccas foundations, rather than bundled grass. The 4 center baskets, perhaps woven by Petra Pico around the turn of the century, reflect a blend of traditional and mission symbols. On the basket in the right foreground appears 4 crosses, placed in the 4 cardinal directions. Perhaps the oldest basket in the group is the gambling tray in the rear, featuring rim ticking, a recessed band, and a double quail plumes. These baskets are absolutely gorgeous in their coloration and design. They are among the most prized and sought after of California Indian basketry. Linda Aguilar represents the sole contemporary Chumash basket weaver.
I think in my lifetime I've made about 5,000 baskets. They range anywhere from little teeny ones to bigger ones. Traditionally, you would become an apprentice to an elder, a accomplished weaver, and they would take you through the whole thing from gathering to the finished work. And so I've had to, in my 40-some years, go and find out all the information just wherever I can. Right here I have some of the juncus, which is really our traditional material. This was gathered from a site that has there's a lot of pollution going on. And it's not easy this day and age to find materials because we have housing projects, we have airports, we have all kinds of different developments. And they've encroached on all our traditional places. For a gathering, you don't just go in there with a weed whacker and cut the plants. You go and you talk to the plants and you give an offering and you do it in a very respectful way, and you only take just as much as you can use, and you only gather it in a certain way. This is willow. Get some willow here. I'm thinking about making a cradle board, and I have a daughter who hopefully someday will make me a grandmother, and so I'm ready for it. I do a great deal of baskets in horsehair. I've got one right here that I'm working on. And I also mix some of the other materials that I find just around town, and that's like this is jacaranda. I'm always trying to find something new to do to the baskets. It's, you know, sometimes I do a certain shape for a while, and then I stop doing it, and then I do another shape. And I love beads. I have a thing about beads. So I hang them off there. For some reason or another, I just have a hard time just leaving the basket just without any beads or things on it. Originally, when I started making the little baskets, I would put little bones and things inside there. And I always thought of it as a little offering basket. But right now the regulations with Fish and Game have it so that you can't use wild animal parts. So I've had to stop doing that if I'm going to sell a basket. This is an old basket because it has a tooth in it. But and two different types of horsehair in it. Wherever I go, I'm always picking up things and putting them in my pocket. And I always have shells and rocks and sticks and things like that. And so I end up putting them on the baskets. It's very important for me to carry on some of the traditions. Hopefully some of the younger people will get the same feeling. And I'm seeing a lot more younger people interested than they. In the past, it was not of any interest, and there's something going on now that people are starting to be called back to their roots and their traditions, and that's very good.
Southern California mission tribes were the first to greet Spanish explorers, yet the last to receive due artistic recognition. While the Declaration of Independence was being signed in 1776, the California missions were being built beside presidios, strongholds of colonial conquest. 50 years later, the missions were secularized with Mexican independence. The emancipation of the Indians and imposition of Mexican citizenship lasted a generation, climaxed by the Mexican-American War and the signing of the 1848 Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo, which recognized Indian religious freedom and land rights. The Americans then negotiated a series of California Indian treaties from 1851 to 1853. The treaties soon were broken and reservation lands often stolen. Over a century later, California Indians were paid 49 cents an acre for California. The Southern California Mission Indian nations include the Chumash, the Gabrielino, the Ferdinando, the Luiseno, the Digueño, and the Cahuilla. These beautiful Southern California mission baskets were created by women who lived around a string of California missions. The most famous of all Southern California mission basket weavers was named Ramona. A century ago, Helen Hunt Jackson wrote a play about Ramona, a true California love story. One of the finest baskets in this collection is this beautiful Cahuilla. It depicts flames radiating out from the center, also flaring throughout the edge of the basket, interspersed by corn plants reflecting the introduction of agriculture when the Spanish missionaries established a string of missions in Southern California. This Southern California mission basket is a mystery. The design on it is very similar to comparable baskets that have been identified as Chumash. However, the construction of the basket is more similar to a little farther south among the Digueños or Luiseños. The inner foundation material is made out of a type of grass rather than using yucca stems, which is characteristic of a Chumash basket. The shape, the design, the condition, the rarity of this basket, and the stitches are so fine and the coils are very tiny, all combined to make this a highly coveted and desirable basket of Southern California. One of the general characteristics of a Southern California mission basket is a unique California mission stitch, where the fag end is tucked in under the bundle. The second diagnostic characteristic of a mission basket is the bundle foundation made from natural grasses. Most California mission baskets are made from yuccas, a type of water reed that grows in the estuaries. There are 4 different shades: a light green, which appears naturally, sun-bleached, which is a kind of blonde, golden brown color. The third is an amber orange, which is the bottom part of the stem that's buried about 12 inches under the mud. The fourth color is a chocolate brown. This is made by a natural dye. As the Shumash basket weaver Linda Aguilar pointed out, it's very difficult to get clean yuccas today. Because of pesticides, herbicides, and toxic waste, much of the yuccas is being polluted. This mission jar displays the silky texture and mottled russet of yuccas-based stems. Although most California mission baskets are geometric in design, this one has horses and a medicine person with his arms upraised towards the heavens in prayer. High in the mountains of Southern California, this mountain cahuilla basket was woven, depicting a deer with a rack of antlers. Because their cultures went underground to survive, mission Indians now are emerging as a creative force in the California cultural revival movement. Mission baskets, which used to bring a few $100s, have soared into the thousands, especially the coveted snake baskets. One of my favorite works of art in the collection is this little girl's cap from the Achamawi or Pit River tribe from northeastern California. They live between Mount Shasta and Mount Lassen, 2 volcanoes. And I imagine that over 100 years ago, maybe 150 years ago, a little girl wore this cap to her first ceremonies, where she danced and sang and gave honor to the ancestors who came before her, who inspired her to carry on the traditions, to be passed down from grandmother to mother, to daughter, to granddaughter, to the generations of the unborn. The design on this basket is quail top-knot designs, which are spiraling in a V shape. And then we see sequences of diamonds. These diamonds represent eyes which transform from the earthly realm into the heavenly realm. For these people are spiritual people. They're people who understand life. They're close to nature. The woman who created this basketry cap was many things. Not only was she an artist, but she had to be a botanist. She had to go out and gather the bear grass, the maidenhair fern, the pine roots, the hazel warps. All had to be gathered at the proper time of the year. All had to be prepared with loving care. Also, she had to be a chemist because materials were dyed so that they would create the maximum in intonation. Furthermore, she had to be a poet because each work of Indian art has a balance, it has a meter, a symmetry, a rhythm, if you will. And finally, she had to be a mother who cared about her daughter and about the future of her daughter, introducing her daughter into tribal society. To me, this basket symbolizes the essence of American Indian art, a tradition which stretches back many tens of thousands of years back to the dawn of creation, which is still alive today, and through our appreciation will survive for generations and generations to come. We wish to end in a traditional way, expressing our respect and gratitude for the original people of this land, especially those grandmothers, the basket weavers, who have preserved through their artistic sensitivity remarkable expressions of their cultures. From Elizabeth Hickox in the north to Rose Anderson among the Pomo, the great master Datsalali of the Washoes to Edna Foster of the Mono Lake Paiute, Ramona of the California Missions to Petra Pico of the Shumash, and especially to Linda Aguilar, who carries on that tradition today. To all of those who've come before us and all of those who will come into the future, we express our respect, our gratitude, our best wishes, that we might preserve our environment, our Mother Earth, for generations to come. Thank you for joining us in a romance with American Indian art.
Mayalo nana mayalo, mayalo nana mayalo, mayalo nana mayalo. Hitema kana wala tro 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 mayalo, mayalo na mayalo. Hitema kana wala tro mayalo. Ele yeah. Muto yo kana nenawa. Wele wele heya, woto yoko na nenawa. Wele wele heya, woto yoko na nenawa. Mine he weka, roboto hinna mama. Woto yoko na nenawa. Mine he weka, roboto hinna mama. Woto yoko na nenawa.